Hi there, it's Sarah from Ruffles and Rain Boots. We're going to do a beginner laser project and make really beautiful and elegant stocking tags just from wood. If you'd like to make it, stick around. As always, please give this video a like so I know you're here. I'm going to be sharing how I do this in XCS design software. You can also do this in Canva or Silhouette Studio. I'm going to use a trapezoid to get my top of a gift tag shape and then just add a rectangle of the same width. After I know they're the same size, I'm going to select both of them, hit unite and combine, or combine and unite, and that makes them one piece. I'm going to leave the lock proportion in and set the size to 4.5 inches tall. I'm also going to add a circle. I'm going to center it and I'm going to size it at 0.5 inches because I'm using a wide chiffon ribbon. Then I'm going to go to combine and subtract to remove that from the gift tag shape. Now's the fun part. We're going to start adding our text. Before you move on, go ahead and save your file because XCS software does not yet have autosave. I'm going to turn this to my correct rotation. I'm going to add a rectangle. That is the distance between my ribbon and the edge with a border on either side. That's going to tell me how big of a font, how tall, and make sure everything looks the same when I put it together. I'm choosing the Mismade font and just writing my names. You can use generic titles like Dad, Mom if you're selling. So I'm just going to alter these a little bit and then I'm just going to copy and paste this multiple times so that I can put all of my names in. Now I do have a couple that are a little too big, so I need to size those down. And I'm also going to make a couple of adjustments. If you are new to working inside of XCS, it is very simple to work with text. All right, so I can tell you these aren't connected. I want everything connected just because that's the look I like. So in order to connect the J and the E, I'm just going to add a rectangle. And I'm going to make the angle by turning it and then connecting everything together by selecting the J, the rectangle, and the EFF all together and select Combine Unite. And now it's one piece. All done. I end up adding a top to my Jeff as well. And you can see I also don't like the E on this, so I'm going to remove the E from half of this and I'm going to select a different font for the E. One question that I've gotten so far is how do I make it a little bit thicker? You're going to go to Outline Offset, remove the bitmap, and just add it until you like the look. Once you have it, hit OK to lock it in. Then select both of the two pieces. You'll see I select these three and then remove the rectangle. And then go to Combine Unite. Now anything already text together, you're just going to weld and then you can combine, unite anything else. So we're going to repeat that for all text, making sure we like the size of everything and we add anything we want. You can remove these boxes, or if you're like me and you want a template, you can just set them to ignore so your laser won't process them and pull them to the side. Now I'm going to copy and paste all of these. I need 4 gift tag shapes. And I'm going to just tell you multiple times you want to hit reminder and as a reminder, hit save to keep all that locked in. Next up, I'm going to go to my xTool S1, turn it on, and then I'm going to open the lid and load basswood plywood. This is 12 by 12 inches. Because it is a thin 1/8 inch, I'm going to make sure I use these pins to make sure it's a solid distance for everything. I'm going to go into the software, hit auto measure. Now you can see I've pulled my laser. You see that red dot moving? I'll show you what's happening in the machine, but I pulled my laser in order for the auto distance to work right over the material. And this is what happens in the machine. That distance sensor pops out and will touch down on the material and this little table on the side to give you that auto measurement. Now I'm going to go back into the machine and put cut for my indicator and set my power at 90 and my speed at 10. Now I need to set the actual processing area. Because there's no camera, we're going to use the twin point positioning system. We hit start marking. I'm going to grab the gantry of the laser. I'm going to move it to my start position, which will be up here in the top left corner. hit start to lock it in. You can see as what's happening in the software is it'll follow that laser. When you hit start, it locks in the vertex 1 point. Then for the second point, we're going to move it, hit start, and it will lock in again. That second point, you get this big green bounding box. Move around your design however you would like into the processing area inside that bounding box. It doesn't matter how you set it up, where you put everything. Just keep in mind, you always have to run a material test if this is your first time working with the material. Next up, we're going to frame now that we have everything in there. And what framing does is you're going to hit start and it's just going to show you the outside boundary. I always make sure that my pins are out of the way and that all of my material is inside, or that my design is inside of my material. All right, so now that it is, I'm going to close that lid because we're going to process. In the bottom left-hand side, you'll see an estimate. That's a little shy. It took 7 minutes. And when we hit start, we then have to hit start on our machine. Now, I turn on my smoke purifier. The automatic air assist will immediately trigger. Here's a random feather floating around my craft room. This is the actual speed. You can see that any smoke is being pulled back to that left-hand corner where the fan is. Mine is going into the smoke purifier, which then goes out my window. All right, so here we can see this is the actual text being cut. This is at speed. In case you have any questions about the xTool S1, I can answer it in case you're wondering about purchasing it. I will put links to some information down below. All right, so now that we have all of our cuts, I'm going to actually tell you if you have a purifier or an inline fan, do not open immediately after processing. So the inline fan will pull everything out. Once the auto air assist turns off, I let my purifier run another 15 seconds. Then I turn it off and open. And I don't smell much in my craft room. So I'm going to move my laser module out of the way and lift out my material. Now I will show you this so you can see there is not much soot or char at all. Look at this. That scrap, I'm going to use that for something else. And let me show you these pieces up close. Let me put my hand behind it. Look at, there's minimal soot on these. I love it. The detail on these teeny tiny joints. Be careful if you're using a thin font like I am. If you're new to this, don't touch the edges and then the centers because there's a lot of soot on the edges, but we're going to stain those. But I need to go get the little eyes, making sure my laser module is all the way back so I don't bunk it. We're going to clean that out. And then I usually close my machine for storage. I'm going to be using this stain. It's really pretty. And that is lacquer from another project. Just make sure you're not using anything wet. So I am going to wipe all edges and the inside of that little cutout so I don't get soot on my ribbon. Once those are all wiped down, I'm just going to take a nice, chunky foam brush and I'm going to use the stain. I always listen to Audible books while I do stuff like this to make me smarter or entertain me. If you get stain on anything, go ahead and clean that up first. Otherwise, it'll be there forever. And this is how quickly this portion of the process takes. It's nice and easy. Now, this is the first time I'm using this stain, so I don't exactly know what color it will end up being on this basswood. So I end up doing 2 coats on the front and back. You can always wear gloves. You'll see me put on a glove when it's time to wipe down, just because I like my manicure. You don't have to. All right, so I'm just going to repeat this for each of these. You don't have to watch this. I'm not going to make you watch this. But all in all, this project can be done in about 45 minutes, start to finish. All right, so you can see I'm going to be wiping this right here. And I think it's a little light for what I want, and that's because my mantle is a little bit dark. So I'm going to add a second stain layer. I know that now. But you can either use like a clean dry rag or you can use a paper towel. And like I said, you see the differences in the colors as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and add a second coat to all of it. You can also paint these. Spray paint is a great option before you even laser it. You can stain before you laser. I just had a bigger project that I was working on, so added this into my day. If you're new to working with stain, grab that cleaning cloth and clean that up. Now, here's the cool part about the lettering. It's thin. Mine is very, very thin, so I need to be very careful. So I'm going to only use a paintbrush and acrylic paint, but I have spray painted before. I have used acrylic paint pens, like a Posca paint pen or even a watercolor paint pen, whatever works. I did 2 coats of the white and then set that off to dry. I'm going to cut 4 16-inch pieces of a chiffon ribbon. This is a wider ribbon. It's beautiful. It's very trendy right now if you'd like to add it to a product. And then once everything is dry, I'm going to assemble using super glue. And this is my favorite thing ever. It's the Gorilla Super Glue Pen. Normally, I would combine super glue with wood glue, but your girl didn't have time for that today. Okay, so we're just putting little dots and we're going to squish it around with the super glue tip or the pen tip. And then we're just going to position it and add our little like dots for our eyes. If you cut out some holly or, a bone for the dog or whatever, add that on as well. I'm using a small piece of cardboard and clamps. Those are Harbor Freight specials. And I do that just while I work on the rest of them, just because I want to make sure they don't slide around or move until that super glue sets. Once that's done, I make sure I don't have super glue on my table, and then I'm going to remove all of the clamps and cardboard and take them outside to seal them with my favorite sealant ever, Krylon in the matte. So I just sprayed those couple coats, whatever the package says. And now once those were dry, I'm just going to loop my ribbon, thread it through the front, and then widen that loop in the back and just take the ends through. That makes it look really, really nice. In case you're selling, leave the ends unknotted so they can attach it to their stockings or packages. And you're done. This is a beginner laser project. It is super simple. I'd love to hear what you think down in the comments below. Find out about the xTool and all the materials I used in the links below as well. And like, share, and subscribe for more crafty fun.